Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the novel Dragonfly in Amber by Diana Gabaldon. And I enjoyed this one. It was kind of confusing though, because we had last left Jamie and Claire in pretty much France. And then we start this off in like 1968. And we're like looking at Roger, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? Because like through a looking glass darkly, Inverness, 1968, and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? And that's just weird to me. I don't need, granted, maybe it's because I don't have as much lag time between the different kind of volumes as they're coming out in like written kind of order, but I was just like, what the fuck's going on here? As we then learn a little bit that Claire came back from like around the like Rising, and that it's been about like 20 some years. She's got a daughter, Brianna, and you're just like, what the fuck's going on? Frank's now dead. She got back together with Frank, and they're trying to figure out what's kind of going on, and Claire pretty much brings Brianna to Scotland to give her the lowdown of everything that's going on, and enlist Roger Wakefield to kind of help as well. He's dealing with the death of the Reverend Wakefield and trying to do with everything with his house and everything. We also get like this Fiona chick that's trying to like get together with him. It's like, oh my god, before we see, of course, the attraction between him and Brianna. But then we get into pretty much the main crux of understanding what's going on historically, as we see them attempting to stop Prince Charles from trying to initiate the Rising of like 45, and everything that kind of goes along with that. It's like, oh, okay. It's really kind of weird that we get into it in 1968, and then we essentially have a story that she's relating back. And the thing is, what really kind of slows down the France part for me is that Claire does something, and then she's got to relate it to Jamie, and Jamie does something, then he's got to relate it to Claire. So we've essentially got Claire in 1968, which is technically our main stories present, relating stories, and then relating other kind of stories of what's kind of going on. Now, that pretty much makes sense, given that Jamie can get into certain kind of places that Claire can't, and vice versa, but as a reader, I would have rather have just had them go into the character's perspective, and then potentially just data dumped and just kind of skip that part. Like, Claire does something, and then, oh, she relayed this information to Jamie. Okay, I'm alright with that. It's just a weird kind of style that I'm not really kind of used to. I'm just like, alright, I don't consider it bad, it's just something that I don't personally jive with that much. It just kind of clashes with me, because I usually like to see the characters kind of doing certain kind of things. But we see that they hook up with one of Jamie's relatives. He kind of like goes into Paris and kind of takes over this kind of winery kind of business and everything. That's pretty kind of cool. Claire getting into and mucking it up with Master Raymond. I really like Master Raymond's character. Him and the apothecary, and him dealing with kind of weirder kind of stuff, but also helping out Claire. Her being at Hospital and working with Mother Hildegard, that was really kind of cool. I really would have rather had that stuff going on with Claire, going into that kind of aspect, rather than dealing with the kind of French political intrigue and everything with like the king and all that. Not that that's not interesting. I mean, we get set up that Count Germain is pretty much beefed with Claire because she saw pretty much smallpox on one of his vessels, and they had to burn the thing because of the contagion. And he's all, fuck you, calling her a witch and all that kind of shit. And it's interesting kind of rivalry, but there's a lot of it kind of going on, and you're trying to pick and choose what's kind of going on. I mean, understanding that Charles Stewart is a fucking ditzoid who gets bit by a monkey is kind of funny. Jamie rescuing a street urchin named Fergus and the insanity that ensues with that little dude as he like does strange shit with horses and everything. It's like, oh, that's this big horse. He's like riding around and Jamie's like, I gotta get his fucking ass off. But the main thing that like gets me through with this is the crux of the anchor characters of Claire and Jamie. They are still the ones that kind of like get me onto like and kind of like push me through with what's kind of going on in the story, especially with her being pregnant and everything that kind of goes on with that before we get the whole thing of the Duke of Sandringham coming in and mucking it up with the French court, and then seeing Alexander Randall and that freaking them both out before we see that Blackjack Randall's actually still alive and not killed by a herd of cows. This, of course, Jamie's like ready to fucking go off and like kill his ass, where Claire's like, give me a year. Let him just fucking allow Frank to like kind of go through with it and like to have Frank kind of sired wise and see what kind of goes on. He does not keep to that promise, however, but yet there's more to it than just what's going on. This, however, releases into a cascade of different kind of events as Jamie then tries to duel Blackjack Randall, wounds him, and Claire loses the child. And it just really screws them up. But then we learned that Jamie had reason to go after Randall because he pretty much threatened to do similar kind of shit that he did to Jamie to Fergus. And it's making that I understand Jamie's motivations does not mean that I completely agree and concur with his course of actions. Because then Claire loses the kid. Now granted, I do not put that fully on Jamie. And I do not put that fully on Claire or anything. But then she's got to like treat with the king because he's locked up in the Bastille because dueling is legal and everything. And all the shit that kind of ensued. And she goes and helps and pretty much gets into a position where they fucking kill Count Germain. And she gets banged quickly by Louis. And the thing is that Jamie can leave, but he can never set foot in France again. So then they go back to Scotland. They get back to Lollybrock, which is pretty much my favorite portion of it. Because I don't mind the political intrigues and the histories and everything like that, but Lollybrock, I would have just been fine if all of that stuff was kind of on the periphery and they kind of just loosely sometimes kind of touched upon it, and then them just kind of fucked around at Lollybrock and just dealing with the kind of system that's in place and Claire trying to figure out what she can kind of do and what she can kind of improve. That's just me. Those are usually the best kind of things, but Lollybrock gets kind of screwed over because Charles Stewart gets in and is like, hey, I'm gonna fucking claim my throne. And fucking that little asshole puts down that Jamie's fucking vouching for his ass. So pretty much forcing him and 30 men from Lollybrock to go fight for this fucking tool. And throughout there, like, the perfect use of the word tool. That fucking dipshit little prick-ass fuckboy who's like, oh, the woman I love, who is pretty much gonna have my child. I can't be with her. Woo, woo, I got bit by her monkey, too. It's like, never has there been a more perfect kind of example of the word tool as I've seen through this fuckhead. And we pretty much see interesting kind of stuff going on with this. Jamie institutes a commando raid. He has to deal with this young, before they do the commando raid, he's got to deal with this young upstart, pretty much plays the role of brigand, having Claire pretty much put in that so that way he doesn't have to kill the kid, which I do know from others that have read that this character becomes important later on, that they then go to Prestapans and have this giant great victory, and that this inflates Charles Stewart's head, and they keep doing stupid fucking shit in Edinburgh. And then for some fucked up reason he decides to try and invade London in the winter. I just love that we get into a kind of point where you find dipshits are just like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking invade someplace in the winter. And most of the other people are like, you're a dumbass. That's not even it. Sure, if you're in modern times with modern vehicles and everything, winter is not as much of an imposition as it once would have been. It's still not a smart fucking goddamn idea to do. But everybody starts peeling off. We start getting into other kind of intrigue. Like Jack Randall asks for Claire's help because his brother is sick. And she's like, God damn, he's got like the tuberculosis. He's got a lot of fucking shit. This dude's gonna die. And we also have Mary Hawkins reintroduced. She was in the Paris arc as well. She got raped by these assholes. And we learned that these were sent by the Duke of Sandringham. Which does bring up a kind of strange continuity thing. Now, granted, this might have been that I was not reading as carefully as I needed to, but she hooks back up with Claire, and of course, since she was raped, and there's a whole kerfuffle and everything at their house in Paris, and the same thing with Alex. She's in love with Alex. She's the goddaughter to the Duke of Sandringham. There was a certain kind of battle between Charles's forces. Jamie and Dougal had to pretty much give Claire away, as they were pretty much playing that they'd like captured her in order so that way they could all live, except for Rupert, who got stabbed and died. That one sucked. But she then gets taken to the Duke, and he lays out this whole thing that he had sent those brigands in Paris to kill her ass, to stop Jamie and everything like that. And she's like, fuck. And even brings in the dude that was part of it and was like, Dom Blanchet. It's like, shit, fuck. And then Jamie and the rest were able to kind of find them, though Human Rogue was murdered by the Duke's forces. Let's see. Jamie's able to take that dude out. Murtaugh made a vow to kill whoever had like ordered it or orchestrated it. But I thought that would be more of him taking down this dude. Jamie kills him, but then there's like, they're trying to figure out how to kind of leave and everything as they take Mary Hawkins with them. And then Murtaugh's got like a bloody bag and evidently presents the head of the Duke of Sandringham that he killed to Hugh Monroe's widow, Claire, and Mary Hawkins. I just didn't remember a scene or any kind of place where, because Jamie was trying to find Murtaugh at a certain point, so I might have gotten into a certain, it's almost like he took out the Duke first, but it just might be how I kind of read this stuff or how I kind of went through it. So it's just that slight kind of fucking of events that kind of worked out. But granted, there's a lot of weird shit going on, so I don't know. But we then start getting towards the end of the campaign. Charles does stupid shit. We get to Culloden, and Jamie's like, you're going out because you're going through the stones so that Frank can take care of you because you're pregnant again. And we find out she's pregnant. She goes, they have this lovely evening together, and they carve each other's initials into their hands, and she goes through, and then we see that whole stuff going on. Let me see. And it takes a while for Brianna to then kind of come to terms with it. And Roger is more on Claire's side, being like, there's some weird shit going on here, researching it and everything like that, before they kind of even find out that Jamie did not die at Culloden. And that's where we get off onto book 3. Now, granted, I kind of started a little bit of book 3, but I'm taking a kind of break at the moment. There's some other kind of books that I kind of want to read and get into, because that one started off at a weird kind of spot as well. I don't need complete continuity, i.e. that I have to start at the same kind of place that we ended off at. It just really throws me for a loop for certain kind of things and certain kind of choices that it takes me a while to kind of get through these for some reason. Like, I think I'm in some kind of space of like trying to remember trying to analyze it to a point of what's important and what's not. But I do want to get back to these books at a certain kind of place, because I don't hate them. I don't think they're bad. or anything. I just needed a little kind of break, because these are kind of hefty ones. The next one is like over 1,000 pages. Now granted, I have read the Stormlight Archives, and those are beefy fuckers too. It's just I could go through them at a kind of faster clip, whereas these, sometimes I gotta look up phrases and certain kind of things to like help me understand kind of what's going on at a certain point, and that slows me down considerably on certain kind of issues that are going on, whereas other ones, depending upon how the style and everything kind of goes, I kind of go at a faster kind of clip. But I still enjoyed this, even though it goes to a, like, there's certain kind of things that don't really, that kind of rub me a kind of way that's not really wrong, but just not how I would usually want it to kind of go. I'm like, okay, we're doing a kind of nesting kind of story, but I would kind of want to see the characters doing the certain kind of things, and then just be like, oh, here's a little blurb that this character tells this character what we just saw, or what we just experienced. But still the main strength is Jamie and Claire's relationship, and those two characters still do the book very well. And then the introduction of Roger and Brianna work as well to like help flesh out the cast a little bit more. Where you're like, okay, I'm interested in these characters as well. I do like that Jamie asked Claire if she had a son to name him Brian, and that her name is Brianna, so we'll kind of have to see how that kind of shakes out in later books and everything like that. But I would say that if you like the first one, you would definitely like the second one, and it's still an interesting kind of concept. I do like the time traveling, the differences in looking into various kind of historical things linked up with the 1750s time period and what kind of goes on there. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on there. I mean, you got this rising, you're soon to be getting the American Revolution, then you start to get into the French Revolution and everything like that, and all the different kind of things going on. So I do like looking at that kind of stuff. Kind of like the Temeraire series with like, what would happen in the Napoleonic War if they had fucking dragons and had like essentially an air force? Now granted, we don't have dragons, but we have the Loch Ness Monster. And some weird, and I don't know, we could have some other kind of weird stuff as well, but I still think this is enjoyable. It's just a different kind of one that takes me longer to kind of get through. But hey, that happens. So, those are my opinions on the book. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.